Thank you all for coming this evening and participating in this webinar on learning how to help your parents make the best possible choices now and in the future. My name is Ellen Waldorf, and I'll in a moment introduce everybody else who's here.
So here's a case study. Joe and Dorothy are in their early 80s. They live in Needham in a house they've been in for 30 years. They have 3 grown children, a daughter in Connecticut, a son in Indiana, and another son in Maine. Dorothy is showing signs of cognitive impairment, repeating the same question over and over again and telling the same story again and again. Joe is very sharp mentally, but has fallen several times over the past few months, most recently resulting in a broken foot. They like where they live, but it's isolating, and Dorothy worries that if Joe falls again, she won't be able to get him off the floor without help. Joe worries that if he's hospitalized from a fall, Dorothy won't remember to take her medication or will go off to a store and forget the route home. Their children are busy with jobs, spouses, and children of their own and are not able to assist Joe and Dorothy as much as they would like. What we'd like to do now is give you a sense of the different types of questions that come up in this type of situation and how the professionals in our group can address these. So I'm going to back up and start with a question directed for Wendy. What if this family has someone come in to help them? What help do they need and what help is available?
This couple that was described in the case sounds like being alone is challenging for both of them. Based on their cognitive impairments and the fall risk. It seems like having someone else in the home could really help them be safe and meet a lot of the needs that are missing from the situation. So with HomeCare, there is an opportunity to have a caregiver come into the house who could do a myriad of things to assist the couple. With the cognitive impairment issues, a lot of times that brings on forgetting to take medications and sort of disorientation. So having a caregiver in the home could really address those issues. Somebody could remind the person to take their meds and be with them to make sure that they're not going to wander off or get lost. In terms of the person in the scenario that's a fall risk, the caregiver could be with them when they're walking, whether they're right next to them or reminding the person to use a walker or an assistive device. The caregivers are all trained to do this type of supervision. So bringing somebody into the home could be a real relief to be able to address these safety issues. And there's other things they can do around the house as well. They can always assist with laundry, grocery shopping, taking people out to doctor's appointments, and being there in case something happens at the house, someone who can really take charge and address any emergencies. So that's a general overview of HomeCare and how it can help the situation. And I know we'll be offering an opportunity for questions specifically, but I'm gonna move on to the next question. Absolutely right. I think it's definitely a personal choice, and there's lots of ways to go with the situation. And I think socialization is a big piece of moving to a facility for many people. There's also the other side where many people really choose to stay in their home. It's just where they've been for 50 years or however long, and they just can't see themselves leaving. And in those cases, sometimes it makes sense to bring in care so that they can remain where they wish to be at that point in time, and get some of the services that I described before around assisting with bathing or dressing or taking people on errands or companionship, those types of things. So, and then it can be evaluated during different points in time if they start with care in the home, and if things begin to decline and it seems like it's not working anymore at home, then it could even be looked at that point to go to a different kind of community. So It's sort of a personal evaluation thing, and also long-term care insurance plays into it too. If you have that, or if your parent has that, then oftentimes that will pay. We accept that for home care services, long-term care policies, definitely pay for home care, also assisted living. And the same goes for home care too. I always tell people who are reluctant to have that kind of care come in, if you're not setting yourself up with anything for, forever. It's something you can try. We can do it slowly. We can introduce the caregiver first, make sure that they're comfortable with the person. So it's the same thing too. Sometimes it's about just presenting it as a trial, and it works. It really does.
And Wendy, tell me, my recollection is that when you meet a family, that you're also doing some sort of assessment to kind of figure out, how do we make, if safety is an issue, how do we make, concerns about, like, let's get rid of the area rugs or whatever.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So, So my role is I do go out and do an assessment, not only to talk about the needs of the person that they might have that are unmet, but also that I can look around the home to kind of make recommendations on what might change to make it safer in the home. We can talk about other resources as well, because I'm in a place where I can make recommendations to other professionals for different needs that the home care cannot meet, but other people can. So the assessment is definitely part of what we do. Sure. Memory cafes are a growing thing that's happening across the state. And basically what they are get-togethers. They occur typically in one location about once a month, where people can go with their caregiver, whether it's a professional caregiver or family caregiver. There's no question about who has any kind of memory impairment. It's just a welcoming place for people to go for social get-together for a couple of hours in the community, and either have, participate in that, like an art project or entertainment, food. So there's a website. You can Google memory cafes, and you can see where they're all listed in the state and the dates and times that they're occurring. And you just show up, and they're really great. It's a nice support for not only the person with the memory problems, but also for people who are taking care of that person, because you do get to meet other people in the same situation, and there's no, it's just, there's nothing judgmental about it. It's a really great thing that's going on out there.
Here's another question. Help. Mom fell and broke her hip, and the doctor said she can't live alone anymore. I'm way too overwhelmed. What do I do?
Call us.
Well, I think that this, it sounds like if she can't live alone, then she does need some kind of care. And whether, again, it goes back to figuring out, is that in the home or moving her? Since it sounds very imminent that this just happened, and moving, doesn't happen right away, maybe looking into some care for her, at least to get her home safely. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, because there are a lot of choices out there, there are also geriatric care managers available, which can kind of help with the big picture, to be able to help focus you and give you recommendations and sort of take some of the legwork and the research and the navigating of the system off of your plate. So there are care managers out there that do this, and we all know some, we recommend them.
So let's take our last question, is, how does a home care agency match a caregiver with mom? And then another question is, are we going to replay this? And we'll answer that at the end. So
in terms of the matching caregivers, part of that from what we do is when I go out, I do an assessment, as I mentioned, and really get to see your parent or whoever it is that's going to be receiving the care get a sense of their personality, their needs, what they're looking for, what we come to an agreement is really needed. And then we have a large staff of caregivers that we would go back to and kind of see, okay, based on the needs and the personality and the schedule and availability, who can we find that's going to be a good fit? And we put that all together, and that's how we do the matching. So it's really about all the pieces of the puzzle and skill level and that kind of thing.
And just a follow-up question,
Yeah.
Wendy, if you do this matching and this person comes and I think they're terrific, but mom doesn't like him or her, is there the possibility to kind of reshuffle and try again?
Yeah. It's always about meeting the needs, which part of that is making everyone feel comfortable. So if somebody's not comfortable, then absolutely they're not forced to have that person in the home. It's an immediate switch out to figure out who would be the right person.